All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the best football show. I am Brian Baldinger. As you can tell, perhaps, I am off the road for the first time in 2 weeks. Just saw 12 teams in 14 days. We're going to get into some of those teams today. I'm back here at NFL Films, probably, watch some of these preseason games, or at least a little bit of some of these games that are going on tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is the best football show found by just downloading a free Odyssey app, following us, liking us, subscribing to us, commenting. We love to build our audience right here. We're here 3 days a week, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Today is Thursday. It is August 13th. So inside training camp for the NFL Network has concluded. I've been doing stuff for both ESPN and NFL Network. You can find me at Baldy NFL. We have some quarterback news. I think it's worthy. Deshaun Watson on a Saturday afternoon at Soldier Field will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, Todd Monken, I think he's done a good job of handling this thing. Whether it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders, I was in Cleveland last week. Nothing has been determined. In fact, the first 8 days of training camp were basically nothing but installation. Okay, so they're just installing offense, new plays, new concepts. They were building the playbook. It's a brand new offensive line, 5 new starters from 5 different teams, trying to put a line together. And so what Todd Monken did, and I don't think you could get any more fair than this if you wanted to have a real quarterback derby, is Shedeur took all the reps with the number ones one day, Deshaun took it the next day. And so for this first preseason game against the Bears on a Saturday afternoon, Deshaun Watson is going to be the starter. Next week, in Cleveland's second preseason game, provided everything goes well and health and all that kind of stuff, Shedeur will start the second game. And then hopefully, honestly, it's not going to be what Todd Monken has told me, he's told the media, is he wants the quarterback battle to be determined by the players. He doesn't want to have to choose. He wants the players and what he's trying to say is the players step up and show why you should be the starter week 1. Like, let the players decide it. And so maybe we'll get a look at Deshaun here against, who knows how many guys are playing in preseason. I was just at the Bears on Tuesday. Ben Johnson had literally a 2.5-hour scrimmage, intra-squad scrimmage. Their number one's probably, Caleb got a lot of work. So you're not going to see those guys. But there is a lot of, questions at depth, especially at safety right now with some of the injuries they've had. All right, the other news is in Minnesota. And Kevin O'Connell has come out and just declared that Kyler Murray is quarterback number 1. I think we all expected that. I think maybe some of us thought that if there was a battle that would go a little bit deeper into camp, maybe into the preseason games. But, Kevin O'Connell has seen enough. And at some point, like I was in Kansas City yesterday, and I talked about this yesterday. I mean, Mahomes took literally 75, 80% of all the snaps. Like, that's what you want your quarterback to do. You want him to get as much work as you possibly can. Like, let's stop the competition. Kyler has proven that he can, play at a high level. He was the number 1 pick in this draft. He has gone to the playoffs as a starter. This is a much better team than on any team that he was with in Arizona. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is a quality coach, quality designer of offense. He's got great components around the quarterback, offensive line, receivers, running backs. It's there. So name Kyler Murray the starter. Why fool around? And it's not to knock JJ at all. I mean, JJ will have a place if something happens to Kyler Murray. Trades, you never know. Like, you see these quarterbacks find success in their second, their third, their fourth teams. Look at Baker. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at some of these guys that have traveled and where they're at now and what they have been able to do. So J.J. McCarthy it's not over for J.J. He's got to go out there and compete every day with every rep that he gets and be ready. Be ready. Like, he can have a great career in this league. It might not just start this year in Minnesota at the start of the season. So I applaud Kevin O'Connell for coming out and making the statement. I thought that the talent that Kyler Murray has that made him the number one pick in this draft, he still possesses all that ability. The arm strength, the accuracy. Let Kevin O'Connell design the offense around his skills, which are different than J.J. McCarthy's. Like, I remember being at an Arizona Cardinal practice. It was either 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I forget, but he's the quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury's the coach. And I'm down the field watching practice, and Kyler comes out in the field. He comes up, and, I've known him for a while. So, I start just shooting the breeze with him. And I said, oh, by the way, Kyler, like, you didn't run a 40-yard dash at the combine. Like, you have any idea how fast you are? I was just curious, He goes, Baldy, when I was at Allen High School, I think they timed me in a 40. I think I ran a 4.28. And like, who's going to dispute what Kyler Murray can run? It might very well. Like, I played with Eric Dickerson. I don't know. Eric Dickerson might have ran a 4.28 the way he ran some days. He probably ran faster against the Cleveland Browns in a game on a Monday night than he ever did on a watch and a pair of shorts, to be honest with you. We could get these guys now on all this measurements that they have out there, this next level stats that they have, or how fast somebody can go. But Kyler Murray's the starter for the Vikings. And I think, honestly, I saw Justin Jefferson at the Super Bowl this year. Like, they needed a guy that can get the ball and put it on a tee the way I saw Mahomes do yesterday, the way I saw Caleb do on Tuesday, the way I saw Jordan Love on Wednesday. All right, that being said, let's get to a couple more teams that I was at. I was with the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. The first thing you notice out there at training camp for the Colts is Daniel Jones. And now the guy had Achilles surgery. And you cannot tell which leg had the surgery. It's that imperceptible. It's that level of rehab. Like, there is no slowdown in Daniel Jones's game, none. And so I talked to him for a little while, and he's excited about being back. At one point last year, they were 8-1, and Daniel Jones was never playing better. In fact, it was halfway through the season. He lost to Pittsburgh, then he started getting banged up, and then he tore the Achilles. It was a slow burn, but his deep ball accuracy and his decision-making were phenomenal in those first 8, 9, 10 games. It was the best he ever played. Some of it, I think, is Shane Steichen. Some of it is being in a new place with a really good offensive line in front of him, Tanner Bortolini, the new center. Gonsalves, at right guard, Big Q, Quentin Nelson at left guard. They had a good offensive line. Tyler Warren came in. He was just a stud. Receivers, Alec Pierce. But, he turned around. The Colt quarterbacks turned around and handed the ball off to Jonathan Taylor 323 times last year. It was the most carries by any running back in the league. And I talked to Jonathan Taylor. Honestly, they gave him a new contract extension. He's 27 years old. Jonathan Taylor's 27 years old. He just got his third contract for a running back. It's the year of the running back. But he led the league in first downs, touches, 18 rushing touchdowns, most in the league. Like, he is a workhorse. And it's funny, like, just talking to him about, obviously he's got great speed, and he's got true home run hitting ability, the way Jahmyr Gibbs, the way Bijan does, like the way some of these backs do, Saquon. Right, true home run hitting ability. So I just asked him, like, how does he see it? How does he see it? And he said, I feel one, I see two. Meaning, I feel the hole and where it is, but I'm really got my eyes on number two. I really have my eyes on the linebackers and that second level of defense where I'm setting those guys up with cutbacks, stutters, my burst. It's really pretty interesting. And I would say that most great backs probably would say the same thing. But it was just something that, you hear a running back say, and then you want to go back and kind of watch it. Jonathan Taylor, I think he's healthy. He looks great right now. They have injuries at receiver. Josh Downs is down. Alec Pierce is down. And then, you look on the defense, and you really think that Lou Anarumo in his second season will have a lot more to work with. The secondary should be much better. Sauce Gardner, full off season. Travarius Ward at corner. The safeties look really good right now. So I feel like Cade Bynum comes from Minnesota Vikings to play safety. Like, they look a lot better right now in the secondary than they ever did last year. So I feel like the Colts, with the health of Daniel Jones, will be very competitive this year. I came to Indy from Washington, and I say the Commanders have two quarterbacks on the roster now. Yes, Jaden Daniels back healthy this year, but getting Sonny Styles in the draft, they've got their quarterback on defense. And we sat down and talked, Mike Garafalo and myself, we sat down and talked to Sonny Styles. I'd never met Sonny. Did a lot of breakdowns on him at Ohio State, getting ready for the draft, but I'd never met him. He's, you come into, he started at Alabama for 2 years. Then he went to Ohio State when Nick Saban retired. And so you come into Tuscaloosa as an 18-year-old freshman, and you start your first game as a safety for Nick Saban, who coaches the secondary at Alabama, And you play for Nick Saban, and you're the quarterback of that defense as an 18-year-old freshman. You just get the feeling this is a very mature kid. And we sit down and talk to him. Nothing is too big for Sonny Styles. Like, they picked the right guy. If you look at Dan Quinn's defenses, going back to his days in Seattle, he had Bobby Wagner there. Like, he's had great middle linebackers and true leaders, at that Mike linebacker position. Now, there's a great linebacking core. Frankie Luvo lines up next to him. Leo Chenal was signed. Leo Chenal is just a 255-pound, run-stuffing linebacker that also can cover. And it's got good speed. They've got a good linebacking core. They invested heavily in the defensive line this year. Adam Peters spent a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball, just upgrading the defensive line and the secondary. The question really is, in Washington, literally they go through a whole warm-up period. I'm watching Stephon Diggs, and he's there for a second day in pads and catching balls from Jaden Daniels. And we talk to Stephon Diggs. And then they get to the first team period. And, Jaden Daniels is throwing passes to the receivers, and I'm watching the one-on-ones. And there's Laramie Tunsil going up against Odafe Owe. First pass rush. And Laramie goes down. And the way he goes down, the trainers come running over. You think it might be a neck stinger. Maybe he just, got his neck hit wrong, and he's got that electricity going down his arm. And that's what I thought when it happened. He went into the tent, didn't see him, and then you find out later that day he's got a torn tricep. And it's just, it's a big blow. It's a big blow. Laramie Tunsil is an elite player. He's one of the three best left tackles in football. There was a big, whether they play Brandon Coleman there or Andrew Wiley, like, they'll put a body there, a capable body, a guy that's played, snaps and started games at that position. But none of them were Laramie Tunsil. Like, he's just elite. And the irony is that literally I had my eyes on him during the entire stretch and individual period process, because I was just marveling. Like, Laramie, I think, is in his 10th year. Like, I was just marveling what kind of condition he's in. Just lean muscle, elite footwork, like great length, incredible athletic ability, everything you want in a left tackle. It was there inside number 78's pads. So it's a huge blow to this offense as they try to get Jaden Daniels back healthy this year, and new offensive coordinator, new style of doing things. So that was the big blow. But I did talk to Diggs, and he had options out there. He grew up in different places, Virginia, Maryland. He moved around. But, Gaithersburg, Maryland is literally, 25 minutes away from a stadium. Like, it was an emotional, you saw him after the first day in the interviews. It was very emotional for him. And he's coming off a year where he had 85 catches for the Patriots, coming off a torn ACL. All right. And then, giving them that and giving them a little bit in the postseason. Touchdown catch against the Houston Texans right before the half was a great catch. He gave him a good year. Like, he's got football left in him. And one thing he reminded me of, that he's not a possession receiver. He is still a bona fide, if McLaurin's number one, Diggs can be 1A. If you want to make him a 2, fine. He can beat you. He can still beat man coverage and good corners in this league because he's a great route runner. And then the last team I will get to here are the Detroit Lions. And, we sat and talked to Dan Campbell right away, right before practice. Dan sat down and, they had to hit the reset button. They went from winning 15 games the year before to not making the playoffs. It was a collapse, a real collapse. And a lot of it was injuries. No question about it. A lot of it was the Frank Ragnow retirement in the offseason that year. They didn't replace him. The offensive line struggled without him in there. A lot of injuries on defense, the whole secondary. At one point, they were playing Tampa, I think, on a Thursday night. Dan Campbell reminded me of this, actually. I had to go and look up my depth chart to find out who some of these guys were because I didn't know. They hadn't played. They had 2 guys playing the secondary in that game that had never played in an NFL game. And they actually played well, but they lost that game. And so, I feel like, the Terrion Arnold situation, there's a lot of holes still on defense. They lose Alec Anzalone, longtime starter as inside linebacker. Yes, they have Malcolm Rodriguez there. They have players, but Anzalone is a big part of that defense under Dan Campbell. I feel like if they can get look, I don't know who's going to play center right now. It's a new offense coordinator, Drew Petzing. They cut ways with Johnny Morton after 1 year as the offense coordinator trying to replace Ben Johnson. That was going to be a tough replacement to begin with. Ben Johnson's unique. Like what he does in Chicago, anything he does in Chicago won't surprise me. He's just that good. But Johnny Morton was not a suitable replacement. So they went out. Drew Petzing was available after they made the change in Arizona. And the one thing that you like about Drew is the commitment to the run game and how he runs the football, and that's what Dan Campbell liked. Now, the loss of Cade Mays as a starting center, injury in practice last week. He started 20 games for the Carolina Panthers. That was going to be their upgrade at center. Now, maybe Juice Scruggs can come in there and play. He's played center. He's played guard. Maybe Juice is the guy. Maybe Colby Sorsdahl. But I don't think they're going to be Cade Mays, whoever they throw in there. So that's that. But if they get the center position worked out, this offense can be as good as any offense in football. I mean, you just watch Jared Goff in, live periods, heavy competition, full pads when I was there last week. I mean, the throws he made to Amon-Ra St. Brown, like in the red zone, 3rd and 3 from the 3. I mean, they're absolute dimes. And these 2 guys never stop working together. And then Amon-Ra, sits down with me and tells me he catches 200 balls off the jug machine every day. It's part of his routine. Jameson Williams runs like nobody else in this whole league. All the tight ends got back healthy, right? And so, they lost 2 tight ends last year. So to get the tight ends back, to see Jahmyr Gibbs on a new contract at 24 years old, just a true, like that offense can be as good as anybody's in football. And so I think they've got holes on defense. Hutch is having a great camp. He was in camp mode. He was, he was getting after it, really getting after it. Like that was their 4th, either 3rd or 4th straight day in pads. So it was, it was a competitive day. And he's going up against a rookie tackle, at a Clemson and going up against Penei Sewell. There was some good matchups out there. Fun to watch. All right, everybody, that's kind of my look at training camp. When we get back here next week, we'll have a chance to look at week 1 of the preseason games. There's 6 games on the schedule tonight, which is Thursday, August 13th. I got my eye on this 8 o'clock game tonight, Arizona at the Las Vegas Raiders. We might see Fernando Mendoza. I hope we do. Like, I really want to see that. Tennessee was scrimmaging against the 49ers this week. That's a 9 o'clock start out there at Levi Stadium tonight. There'll probably be a lot of shots of Robert Saleh as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He went back there and coached the defense last year, did a great job. Saleh did a great job as a defense coordinator of the 49ers, overcoming injuries to Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. He got those guys to play really, really hard. So that'll be interesting to see. You got, Mike McCarthy with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh tonight at 7 o'clock at Acrisure Stadium with the Packers coming to town. There'll be some bromancing going on there at midfield amongst some of those players and coaches. So anyways, that's a little preview of week 1. We'll talk about it in depth next week right here on the Best Football Show.